Alright, we'll talk about cowardice versus courage. Just a couple quotes that I jacked from the internet. This one's from Frederick Douglass. You should read his shit. My long crushed spirit rose. Cowardice departed. Bold defiance took its place. And I now resolve that, however long I may remain a slave in form, the day had passed forever when I could be a slave in fact. This is where we need to get. At least, like, whatever. Like, you're going to be a fucking slave if you live in the modern world because it's all ruled by tyrants everywhere. Taxes is a prime example of that. They don't represent you. So the taxation without representation is going on everywhere. But anyway, you need to get to the point where you're like, draw your fucking line in the sand, people. A lot of crazy shit going on. When cowardice is made respectable, its followers are without number, both from among the weak and the strong. It easily becomes a fashion. You see that today. It's just everybody's like, oh, fucking, somebody should do something. Somebody should do something, and are even proud of and tell stories about how big of a pussy they would have been in that moment. Like, I would never. Oh my God, I would have ran. I would have done this. I would have done that. Fuck that. I wouldn't have fucked. Oh man, it's just crazy. Stop tolerating bullshit. Begging people, mainly the government, to fix the shit. Look at that. A couple bad guys out there in the world. And y'all wouldn't fucking do nothing about it. So you beg the government to do something about it and create the biggest bad guy there ever was. This one's from Gandhi. This shit's dope. Cowardice is impotence worse than violence. The coward desires revenge, but being afraid to die, he looks to others, maybe to the government, like I just fucking said, to do the work of defense for him. A coward is less than a man. He doesn't deserve to be a member of society of men and women. Like I just said, oh, the fucking government, handle this shit, handle it, do it for us. If you lived in a moral society among immoral people, you wouldn't need police because justice would get meted out immediately to wrongdoers. Because that's what I talked about, like hijacking the school system and shit, and teach these kids real morality and real natural law and all that. Instill that shit into them because everybody can get behind that. Everybody can get behind. You can't be assaulting people. You can't murder people. You can't rape people. You can't trespass. You can't steal. Don't be fucking lying and don't be coercing people. Everybody can get behind that shit. But somewhere along there it slithers in this mythical entity called government where it's okay if they do the 7 things that I just listed. And it's just fucking bizarre. Like, I don't know how people can't see this shit. So, that's a good one. And now, when it comes to courage, courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at its testing point. So, like, yeah, you got virtues or whatever, but once something challenges them, a lot of people stand down and don't do shit because of a lack of courage. And I would say a lack of virtue or a lack of principles. Because if you lay down and stand down and cower, as soon as your principles or virtues are challenged, you definitely ain't got no courage. And I would say you never had principles to fucking begin with. So, like, where are you really at with it? Whatever it may be. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something is more important than fear. And like Mark Passio, kind of, I don't know if he heard this one and changed it a little bit, but I remember him saying it. Said courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in spite of fear. And that's a beautiful thing. Uh, and courage is simply the willingness to be afraid and act anyway. Just like Pascal said, courage in spite of fear. You can't be fucking lame and courageous. Like, if you're gonna be courageous, you challenging some shit. You're overcoming some things, whether it be your own personal fears. Maybe they're, you know, a gang of treasonous tyrants. I don't know, whatever it may be. Integrity is courage over comfort, choosing what's right over what's fun, fast, or easy. Practicing your values. It's like the shit, and it never was going to be easy. There was another one that I didn't write down. And by the way, the ones that weren't from Frederick Douglass and weren't from Gandhi, these 5 quotes that I just read off. My eyes are fucked up. I can't read real good, but the author of the quote's name was so fucking small on the images that I lifted that from that I couldn't tell you. So my apologies for that. But you get the idea. Um, yeah. So grow some fucking balls and quit putting up with bullshit.